Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When the adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. Not just any episode, but today we are covering UFC 275. 2 titles on the line, plus we get a banger of a rematch in Zhang Weili versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk. This is the second one. Last time we saw a huge hematoma on the forehead of Joanna. She went in hiding for 2 years or something like that. The pandemic happened. You know how it goes. But either way, we have a rematch on deck. A lot of fun fights, folks. And today is going to be a make it or break it in terms of our picks. In terms of our picks here for the Bloody Water Podcast. Because as you can see, if you're checking out the scoreboard below, 67-35 am I on the year. My co-host AJ is 68-34. We are 1 pick apart. So this is either going to solidify a lead, make the lead change hands, or put us somehow, some way in the same spot as always. So let me bring in my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber himself. AJ, brother, like I said, a lot on the line this week. How you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling good, Derick. I'm feeling good, man. I was just looking over the picks over on the Slack channel. I was thinking the same thing, man. This might be the week where, you get it done, or I start running away with it, brother. We're about hitting that halfway point of the year, man, and the stress is starting to maybe not the stress. The gamesmanship is starting to mount up, brother. How you taking it?
Well, yeah, I'm basically in the same boat, man. This is a part where even though I have my picks solidified, I know who I want to win. I know why I want them to win. I know why I think they're going to win. But even though I feel all that way, there's still like a little spot of doubt in the back of my mind where I'm just like, okay, but if this doesn't pay off, I'm putting myself in a hole. So you're right. This does come to the point where you have to be strategic right here. You have to think very tactically, and you can't just pick the people you want to win, but you got to make sure you definitely getting the dub on that. Either way, man, we got 2 title fights on deck today, man. Teixeira versus Jiri Prochazka. This is one fight people have been looking forward to for a long time. This is one fight where Jiri has not gotten any backlash for getting a title shot, even though the man only has 2 UFC fights, which is kind of crazy. But then we have another one in the flyweight division, Taila Santos and Valentina Shevchenko. You know what I mean? The women GOAT right now. Obviously, since Nunes has fallen off a little bit, Shevchenko has taken the throne, the claim to fame, I guess I should say. Out of these 2 title fights, AJ, which one has more at stake? I mean, there is a path to victory for both challengers, and there is a clear path to victory for both champions. So even though one set of odds are much more skewed than the others, which one do you think has more at stake?
I think it has to be Shev, brother. It has to be Shevchenko. Just because, man, I mean, you said it yourself. GOAT status is basically on the line with one of the other GOATs, the Lioness, taking the L in her last match. It kind of puts Shevchenko up there on the top of the mountain, and I think there's a lot of pressure right there. Who would you give it to?
Well, I was going to say Teixeira versus Prochazka, simply because there's not only could be the retirement bout for Glover Teixeira, right? But at the same time, you don't want to end up as one of those one-and-done champions. I think that sometimes getting the championship is beauty in itself, but being a one-and-done champion carries a stigma that kind of, how would you say, it sours the rest of your career. Even if you have a great career, they're like, oh, but he got the champion and lost it immediately. Like Jan Blachowicz, man. He gets the championship and boom, over. Oh, okay. Well, I guess he wasn't really that good then, right? I don't know. But maybe you're right. Maybe Shevchenko does have a little more at hand, because this could be the Juliana Pena, Amanda Nunes all over again. If Santos were to beat Shevchenko, is that bigger or lesser news than Pena getting the dub on Nunes?
Man, that's a hard question. Yeah. I think I'd have to say less, just because the Juliana Pena was so shocking, But I'm actually interested to see the odds on what Taila Santos is, because if Santos gets it done, that's also extremely shocking, man. There's so many people that have gone up against Shevchenko that, I don't know. Who do you think?
Well, I feel like in a way Shevchenko, man, because Taila Santos is literally the coming out of nowhere fighter. Pena been around for a while. We knew how good she was. We knew how high caliber fighters that she's fought. We saw all of that. But for Taila Santos, where did this come from? Now let's take a look real fast, brother. Obviously, we have opening odds that we're going to talk about in a second, but here are the current odds right now. So for Shevchenko, minus 625 with a plus 450 comeback for Taila Santos. For Teixeira, he's a plus 170 underdog, minus 200 for Jiri Prochazka. I mean, look at that. Joanna Jedrzejczyk, plus 140 underdog, minus 165 favorite is Weili. And then you even see, kind of crazy, Ramazan Emeev, man, the incredible grappler, walk forward, single leg master, plus 135 underdog with minus 160 favorite for Jack Della Maddalena. So interesting odds across the board, but we'll talk about that all in 1 second, man. Let's get into this poster review real fast, brother. All right, my man. So we got an interesting one on deck today, and I want you to explain to the people what you're seeing, the people that are listening at home, not the great folks that are watching. Because if you are listening, you should come check out the YouTube stream. Hit us up on YouTube at Bloody Water Podcast or Free Thinkers Club. But either way, we have an interesting one, man. This is something that's a little bit different, and I actually appreciate it a little bit. So talk to the people. While I get my notes, I'll talk to the people. What are you seeing?
Yeah, Derick, I appreciate this one a lot, man. First thing that came to the mind right here is the Brady Bunch. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that one, Derick, but that's the first thing that came to mind. We got the Brady Bunch rocking, but I actually like this one. I don't say that to clown, man. We got the each fighter in their own box with directly behind them. They have either their nickname or their actual last name, however it is. And I like that each fighter is posing different. You got Glover's kind of staring down Jiri giving his weird look at the eye. He always does. Look at the camera. Shevchenko with the bullet looking fierce. And you got Santos right next to her. I like the fact that they're all in blocks too, They're kind of a retro, kind of a throwback. My favorite has to be Joanna Warrior in the bottom, though. Give him the what's up. Give him the Friday, bro. I love it a lot, man. This one, I don't remember what my highest score was, but I'm hoping this is going to be the highest score. I'm giving this one, man, an 8.5, Derick. I'm going real high. Maybe not a 9 yet, because they might pull out some heat later that I got to save. But this one, I don't remember what my highest is, but I'm thinking 8.5 for this. What about you, Derick? Where you going?
Well, it's interesting to me how we get different representations or different things pop into our mind when we see something, right? You say Brady Bunch, and I can definitely see that, right? I think for some weird reason, the first thing that pops in my mind when I saw this poster was the Czech Republic. I don't know why, but it's like their flag, you know what I mean? If you look at their flag, it's checkered, right? Isn't it? Like Mirko Krokop, right? Come on, man. Let me see. How do you spell Czech? C-E... I don't know, man. No worries.
Spelling podcast there, Derick.
Okay. All right, brother. I was lying. Maybe not the Czech Republic, but wherever Mirko Krokop is from, wherever he's from, if you look at like his shorts and the checkered nature of his shorts, I'm sure you remember. Come on.
That's half what size, I remember. Yep.
Yeah, Stipe and Croatia. That's what it is. I said Czech Republic. Croatia is what I meant. So yeah, I think Croatia when I see this, brother. Let me just pull up the flag just so people at home can see that I'm not a madman. All right, let me pull this down. Boom. You see that? You see the checkers in the middle? That is what I'm seeing right there. That is what it is reminiscent of for me. So either way, man, I'll pull it back up. UFC 275 poster. I think this one is pretty hot, man. I think it's creative. I think it's a little bit different, but I'm not going to match your score, brother. I will give this a solid 6, just because even though this is different and new, I still think for the high stakes championship matchups, the fun bouts, it's a little too eccentric for me, man. You know what I mean? I feel like this isn't timeless, and this can go down as a timeless event on our hands right here. So I'll just leave that for what it's worth. You go 8.5, I go 6, so a little bit of a discrepancy on the board, but either way, we got that one knocked out, handled, and out of the way. So before we jump into these sleepers, because you actually have a couple of fun ones, I have a couple of fun ones that I want to talk about, but I want to spend as much time as possible just breaking down the main card, man, because we have a lot at stake. We have a lot of props on hand, and listen, did pretty damn good last week in terms of props, in terms of money lines, in terms of really just dissecting the anatomy of the fight, I guess you should say. But before we do that, folks, do me a favor and drop a like, subscribe, and share this video and our channel with your friends, your fight companions, all of those good stuff, or all of that good stuff. Because at the end of the day, man, like I said, we do this week in and week out. We've been telling you for weeks, we've been telling you for months. The results speak for themselves. Both of us are well over 50%. Both of us are over 30 picks above 50%, actually. That's how good the picks have been thus far. And we break down the fights in a little bit of a different way. You'll see your great Dan Hardys be very analytical. You'll see your James Krauses be very worried about the money lines and the prop bets and all that good stuff. But then you see the Bloody Water podcast. And AJ, I think it's fair to say that when we break this down, we have to do a double dose of work. We have to do more than the average folk, because not only are we breaking down the money lines, the wagers, the props, all of that good stuff, but we also have to break down the X's and O's for the analytics of the fight. So doing the double duty over here, man, it's the best of both worlds. Am I right?
Best of both worlds, Derick. Whether you want just a classic breakdown, you want to know how these guys are going to get it done fighting, the money line, the prop bets, a whole bunch of shenanigans over here, man, and we make it the best. Have a lot of fun over here too. I see a lot of the channels that are out there also trying to grow, kind of sticking to their lane, but over here at the Bloody Water podcast, we're evolving and always making it better, and that's why you got to share with your friends and help us spread the word. We're still trying to grow up here, so help us out as much as you can. Share it with your friends.
Absolutely. Let's get to 380 subscribers before the end of the week. Why don't we? But here, AJ, before we do sleepers, let's get some TLDR. Knock it out real fast, brother. Here are the picks. So I'm rolling with Glover Teixeira, the old man champion, 42-year-old champion here against the young gun Jiri Prochazka. This is a risky pick, AJ, but I will say the TLDR version of why I'm picking Teixeira is just look at Teixeira when he fought Anthony Smith. Look at the danger that was posed by Anthony Smith, and look at how rounds 4 and 5 ended up. I'm just going to leave that for what it's worth. Obviously, both of us, you have to rock with Shevchenko. You have to pick her until she loses. She's one of those Floyd Mayweather-esque fighters at this point in her career. Now, I'm a little surprised here, AJ, just because of how much of a fan you are, but I understand it. We're going different picks on the Joanna versus Zhang Weili matchup. I'm picking Joanna champion or Joanna warrior. You're not champion back again yet. And you're picking Weili. You're picking her to go 2-0 in the series, man. Give a TLDR version of why you're picking Weili.
Ooh, as big of a fan I am of JJ, man, I just went with Weili just off of gut instinct. I think I was watching the fight, and actually I didn't have a pick until I was watching their last fight, because Joanna, she's going to come in with those technical hands, and literally just made me think, well, Weili Zhang is just a warrior in there. She's had a lot more fights within the recent memory. Yeah. So I think I'm sticking with Weili Zhang, just because she's been doing it recently, man. I don't know.
Yeah, going with the activity versus the chiseled veteranship of a Joanna Jedrzejczyk. That's fair, man. Manel Kape versus Rogerio Bontorin. Bontorin on a little bit of a losing streak himself, and Manel Kape has been in great form as of late, so I think that's a good pick. And then lastly, man, this is an interesting one. I'm picking Jack Della Maddalena, man, the UFC newcomer, versus a Ramazan Emeev, a man who was at 1.5-0 in fights that he landed a takedown in prior to his last fight against Danny Roberts. So this is going to be a fun one. If you want to know exactly why we are picking the fights that we are picking, or the winners, or the methodology, stick around and we will have that for you. But if you want to go run to your local sports book, well, you got the picks. You dig what time it is. All right, AJ, let's get into some sleepers, brother.
It's time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, AJ, so right off the bat, when you presented this sleeper, I said, that's an interesting one, man. You have a dude who I think has one of the most bland names but can knock your head straight off of your shoulders, and Steve Garcia right there, man. Just Steve Garcia. I was even thinking about that. I was like, what a mixture of names right there. But then you got another dude who is coming out of the coveted WFL, right? A lot of these fighters in the UFC coming up from China have been fighting in this league, and his name is Maheshate. Apologies if I butchered it, but AJ, I think you're going to handle it a lot better than me. You know that we give high praise to fighters who are awarded a UFC contract after winning a unanimous decision on Dana White's Contender Series, a platform where you're basically made, or I guess I should say it's a make or break whether you knock your opponent out or you don't. Oftentimes, if you don't have a devastating knockout, you don't get a contract. So talk to me, brother. Why did this man get a contract? Why is this fight devastating? Why is it going to be a fantastic thing for people to watch? Just to spell it all out for me, brother. What are you thinking?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Derek. That's what piqued my interest about Maheshate right off the beginning, man. That unanimous decision win in the Contender Series, I think it's something crazy like 3% of the people, 5% of the people, whatever it is, that actually have a unanimous decision on the Contender Series actually get the contract, man. And Maheshate, he's one of them. Just because if you look back at this dude's record, this dude is an absolute finisher, man. I think he has 3-3 finishes versus decisions on his record. But, I mean, the way he gets it done is in stunning fashion, man. KOs round one. This dude's whipping people left and right, man. Big power, especially in somewhat short. Well, I know, excuse me, not short size, short in power, I guess is the way he looks. He's a skinnier looking guy. He's skinny, looking fast, looking mean, karate style. He comes from China, so he's very fast and mobile, but he packs a lot of power. And that's kind of what intrigued me about Maheshate right at the jump, man. This dude's coming in, 6-1? 6-1? Yeah, 6-1. Lost his first fight, but he's coming back, man. He has a lot of power coming in. He's going to be very fast and very blitzy. Same thing with Steve Garcia, dude. This dude has some serious crack in his shots. Like you said, Derick, can take your head off your shoulders, and he's looking to do it consistently, man. Garcia, he had a mean fight in his last one against Charlie Ontiveros, even though Ontiveros has been on a somewhat of a skid lately. This dude, Steve Garcia, still has some serious mean power. Put up a really good fight against Luis Pena, but still lost that decision. Both of these fighters, and why I picked this one as a sleeper for me, Derek, both of these fighters are going to be coming forward, looking for the knockout, looking to prove that they still belong where they belong in the UFC, and especially for Maheshate, he's looking to prove to the UFC brass that they didn't make a mistake by giving him this shot. And with Steve Garcia, he's looking to prove to the UFC that they shouldn't be putting some young gun up against him. He's the real deal. And a banger in the 155-pound class, man. This one's going to be a sleeper you need to tune in, Derek. What do you think about it, and who's yours?
Well, I think it's going to be a fun matchup. I think Maheshate is a great counter striker, man. On the back foot, going forward. It doesn't really matter. When he fought the dude, his name is, let me just take a look real fast. Achilles Estemadura, excuse me. Achilles Estemadura. When he fought this dude, Achilles was coming forward trying to take this dude's head off. And Maheshate, what he had to do, man, he had to bounce around the ring, throw flying knees, throw that big right hand down the pipe, man. I think it's going to be really fun. But the difference is that Steve Garcia, he can grapple. And we saw that in his last fight against Charlie Ontiveros, right? He took the fight to the ground after he got dropped pretty nasty. Because, you know, Ontiveros, that karate style, that big puncher, right? He got dropped pretty nasty, man. But he did what he needed to do to kind of will his way back into the fight and get the fight to the ground and eventually get the TKO. So I think that if he can do that against Maheshate, that's going to be impressive because Maheshate has his fair share of takedown defense as well. Standing all of 6 feet tall, man, versus a Steve Garcia, who is also, 6 feet tall. These going to be two big boys getting after it. It should be a fun one. For my sleeper, though, AJ, man, this is going to be simple, cut and dry. I have Sting, Seung Choi, right? And if you don't remember this dude, you should remember his nasty, basically precision TKO victory over Juliana Rosa, his big win over Yusuf Zalal. He has wins over Suman Mokhtarian, right? And his only loss as of late have been to absolute killers. You have the Alex Caceres, right? Bruce Leroy, who has been massively underrated for some time. Gavin Tucker and Movsar Evloev. Your losses are those guys. That's fine. You still have a lot of room to grow. And what's important about this fight is that this is a featherweight matchup against another dude who is coming down from the lightweight division in Josh Kulabau. And folks, you haven't seen this dude fight in over a year at this point. His last win was against Shayalan Nurdenbecki, and it was a decision victory. And Josh Kulabau, the Aussie, he's a mean man with a figure that would surprise you. You look at him and you're like, this dude looks like he should be playing at the LA Fitness in basketball against the homies, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, he's walking forward. He's grappling people up. He's doing the mean, dirty boxing, all that good stuff, man. And he's dictating where he wants the fight to go. He is 9-1-1 in his MMA career, 5 knockouts, never been submitted, only been finished 1 time in his career. This is going to be a really, really fun fight. But this is also the big difference. How do you have a lightweight who is 5'10", short in stature, but thick a little bit, versus a 145-pounder who is all of 6 feet tall, has reach, let me see, I don't know what his reach is off the bat right now, but has an incredible reach, has dangerous precision, and can dictate where the fight's going to go up or down. Ultimately, this is a recipe for banger alert right here. Whether this is going to be a decision victory, which it very well could be, or this is a hard-fought TKO or submission victory at the end of the day for either one of these fighters, I think that this is going to be a very high-level, high-stakes matchup, and the winner of this fight is going to determine who's going to get a lucrative matchup next, because Seung Choi, for a split second, he was on fire, brother. He was on fire. And Josh Kulabau, this is a dude who keeps winning against all odds, man. So at the end of the day, who do you think has a better shot of winning this fight, man? Choi or Kulabau?
Ooh, I really like Sting, man. I like Sting a lot, but Kulabau, he's no slouch, bro. Kulabau, and he's dropping down, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to come in with some power, but the thing is, Seung Choi always packs power. If you remember his last fight against Caceres, man, he almost had him out. He's on some shaky legs, and that's the thing with Choi. He can always get you caught and sit you there wondering what the hell hit you. So I'm going with Sting on this one, but it's going to be a very close fight.
I like Sting too, but I would not be surprised if Kulabau edged another one out, man. This is just what he does. Like I said, he had his only loss actually in his career is against Jalen Turner, and I think that speaks volumes right there. So those are the sleepers. Those are the ones that you need to tune in for. But what's most important is that we break down these title fights, brother. So let's get into it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, AJ. We know one thing for sure, and that Glover Teixeira should not be in this spot right here. If you're talking to the fans, talking to the masses, he shouldn't be here. But at the end of the day, it's not a surprise. If you really look back at his fights, man, look at what he did to Thiago Santos. Look at what he did to Anthony Smith. Look at what he did to Nikita Krylov, Jan Kutalaba. I mean, brother, it's rinse, wash, repeat. He gets rocked, he creates a scramble, puts you on your butt, ground and pounds you, beats your face in or submits you. This is what happens every single time. The question now becomes here, AJ, because this is what I think the story of this fight is. Can Glover Teixeira survive those first 5 to 7 minutes? Can he survive it? Because if he does, I think that this is going to be a classic Glover performance. But if he can't, this is going to be a very, very sad way to end your career, brother. So do you agree with my analysis in that Jiri Prochazka has more or less 7 minutes to really get the job done? Or do you think that even if the fight lasted 15 minutes, he's still dangerous every second of it? What do you think?
A little bit of both, because I think he's most dangerous in the starting of the rounds. You know what I'm saying? Those first 3.5 minutes of the round, and then he kind of starts playing the game after that. But when he's very, very dangerous in the beginning, I can see what you mean. As long as Glover outlasts that, kind of out veterans that early shuffle, those blitz attacks, those weird moves that he does, those spinning elbows, the kind of stuff that happens when you still have a lot of energy, then if Glover can get past that, then I can see him having a little bit better. But at that same point, Jiri doesn't have gas tank issues. You know what I'm saying? So those fourth and those fifth rounds come, he's still going to be fresh, at least for that first little bit of the round. Those first 3.5 minutes that are in there, I think he's going to have he's going to have a lot of gas going forward. But then once those kind of come in, then I see a little bit of openings for Glover to kind of present himself. Because I agree, if Glover does get to your back, he puts you on the ground, gets to your back, homeboy's going to choke your neck all day long. And Jiri has to watch out for it, man. I know he was even saying he did something new with his hair with the ponytail up top, just because the last time he was in a choke, it was hard to get out because it got stuck on his hair. So now he's doing something a little different because he knows Glover's going to be there for that choke, man. My biggest thing for Glover to win this fight, I think I agree with you, Derick, is staying away from the crazy power. But is Glover going to be fast enough to do that? Because lately he's been more so willing to willing to let the fight come to him and then grapple you up. I don't think Jiri's going to allow him to. I think Jiri's going to be bouncing around on the outside trying to stay at that range. What do you think, Derick?
Well, I think that Glover Teixeira, at the end of the day, man, you're right. He eats these shots, man. He eats the big bombs, but somehow he's able to survive it. So that's really like my X factor when it comes down to it. I don't think he's going to be elusive enough to be able to avoid the shots of Jiri Prochazka, but I do think he does one thing very well, and he doesn't get a lot of credit for it, and he rolls with the punches very, very well. So we saw that against Anthony Smith, man, and I can't talk enough about this victory or about that performance because Anthony Smith was cracking him. Thiago Santos dropped him multiple times. He was cracking him. But every time, Glover Teixeira, it's like, my question is Jiri Prochazka going to crack Teixeira and then walk to the other side of the octagon and be like, no, get back up, and then let's get back on the feet? Because if it's that type where he's like, I'm just going to dictate it and we're going to stick around on the feet, and I'm not even going to let you get anywhere near grabbing a single, getting an exchange where you can try to like wrap me up or trip me down or whatever. I mean, Jiri Prochazka is also a behemoth of a man, 6'3", right? All the 80-inch reach. Like he's a big, stout man. But for Glover Teixeira, AJ, I just wanted to ask you this question, man. I mean, yes, Jiri has had a lot of success, right? Look at his UFC performances. That's great. But if you also look, and you said he doesn't have gas tank issues, man, he's never gone 5 rounds in his entire career. So Glover Teixeira, given the fighter that he is, and you see that he's fought the best of the best, man. He has a win over Ryan Bader, Ovince St. Preux, Patrick Cummins, Rashad Evans, Jared Cannonier, Misha Serkinov, Carl Roberson, Jan Kutalaba, Krylov, Smith, Santos. Like, when you rattle down the list, you're like, well, this dude has literally fought kind of the best of the best. He's gone 5 rounds multiple times, 3 rounds multiple times. And when you look at his losses, let's name out the last 5 losses or so, right? Corey Anderson, Alexander Gustafsson, Phil Davis, John Jones. I mean, brother, when you really rattle that down, those are like top-notch fighters, right? So I'm not saying that Jiri Prochazka doesn't have the skill that it takes to win this fight. I'm just curious on what the approach is going to be. Because let's not forget, Glover can crack too, and Prochazka takes a lot of damage, man. He ate a lot of shots. The reason why I think we're so enamored by Jiri Prochazka right now is because he walks through the shots like it's nobody's business. Like, he just walks through them. It seems like it doesn't even affect him. Do you think there's any chance in the world, and anything can happen in a fight, but Glover lands that crispy left hook, the same one that he did on Jan Blachowicz, and stumbles Jiri Prochazka back a little bit and makes him re-question his strategy? Do you think that's a possibility?
I'm glad you noticed the left hook too, Derick, because there's the thing Jiri does. He'll kind of start getting in this flow. He'll like throw the elbows up. He starts moving the hands. But when he's comfortable, the left hand's high. That right hand's just a little low, which means if you got a good left hook, man, it's going to go right over his right hand, catch that chin. It's a possibility. I saw the same thing, man. I see Jiri coming in there, and he does get tagged. He does have the head movement. He'll get tagged to kind of show you he's in the fight, but you don't want to be running around and risking that with a dude like Glover, who has absolute power, man. He might be old, but this homeboy can still crack, and Glover's still a very, very dangerous opponent. I don't know. The thing about Jiri, which I like the most, is the elusivity, man. How elusive this dude is. He's moving. He's grooving in there. He's at different angles when you're not expecting him to be there. He's one of those like mysterious fighters that has that weird range and that weird awkwardness to him. And he's just an awkward dude in general. So, he's always coming in with something a little different. So as much as I want to say that Yuri's going to be in there bouncing around, maintaining range, coming in and then bouncing right out once he's getting done, Yuri, he's proven he likes to sit in the pocket and take a couple shots. So it is possible that that Glover can land something, out of left field that comes, left hook. Larry comes out of nowhere and just drops Yuri. I'm not thinking it's going to happen, but I don't see why it couldn't, Derek. It is there to be had.
That's kind of what scares me about this matchup and me picking Teixeira here is because Teixeira is a little too comfortable in the pocket sometimes. You know what I mean? He sticks around, brother. He just sticks right there and he'll trade shots. This is the thing, man. Do you think that the odds makers have Jiri Prochazka as a -195 favorite, not just because he's a great fighter, but also because there's this mystique around him? Like, this dude is in the forest, like, punching trees and shit like that. Like, I say that just because I really feel like people are thinking that Prochazka has ungodly power. Like, his power is on another dimension, so when he hits Teixeira is just going to crumble and fall. But if Thiago Santos cracked him multiple times and couldn't do that, if Anthony Smith, these are some of the hardest hitters at 205, couldn't do it, why can Jiri Prochazka do it? That's just my question, especially given the back and forth nature of Prochazka versus Dominic Reyes, or even Volkan Ozdemir versus Prochazka. I feel like these were back and forth fights. You know what I mean? These weren't necessarily super one-sided. Do you agree, or what are you thinking?
No, I agree with you. They're very much back and forth, but I think that's what makes Jiri dangerous is he has the surprise factor in those back and forths. Take the Dominic Reyes spinning elbow for instance, man. He hit that within 2 inches of space between the two of them.
Yeah.
That was a tight spin as well as a dirty little elbow coming across. So I think that's where Jiri has the X factor for me. Is in those weird exchanges, stay in the pocket, those weird exchanges that can go down at any moment. I think that's what does it for me personally.
So last question before we get into the actual props on this one. If Jiri Prochazka gets taken down within the first 2 rounds and gets controlled a little bit, do you think that's basically the beginning of the end for Prochazka? Because I don't think it's as simple as, if he gets taken down, it's over. I think he can get back up to his feet. And a lot of times, Glover will take you down and then get back up and then, try to wear you out over the course of 5 rounds. What do you think starts happening? Do the live odds shift once he gets taken down and it starts going favored into Teixeira? Or do you think the odds makers are thinking he can't even get a takedown in the first place? Like, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think the odds shift. The second he gets taken down, I think everybody's going to kind of panic. Well, you haven't really seen Jiri in that position yet, so I don't know how he's going to handle. I'm sure he has great ground game. But that right there causes a little bit of pause for concern, especially with the bettors.
The only reason that I asked that is because if Anthony Smith, a legit certified jiu-jitsu black belt, was having real problems on the ground against Teixeira, what is Jiri supposed to do? I get it. He's this mythical figure. I get it. But, let's talk credentials. And credentials speak for themselves, brother. So I'm just going to leave that for what it's worth. Now let's talk some props right here. So what's really interesting to me in terms of the props for this fight, AJ, is that Glover Teixeira, when you're looking at a submission prop for him, plus 350, which is pretty good odds. I mean, if you look at his last couple victories, so he won his last, his last 2 fights by submission. Anthony Smith, he won by knockout. But basically, he has 4 submission wins in his last 6 wins overall, right? So, I mean, the odds of him getting a submission in this scenario aren't very low. I think they are pretty high. If he's going to win, that probably is going to be the way it's going to get done. I don't really see a decision victory coming out of this fight. But then again, when you look at the TKO prop for Jiri Prochazka, this is why I'm saying, the odds makers, everyone just has such a interesting perspective of this fight. -155 for a TKO win on Jiri Prochazka. So that means the odds makers are literally saying that if this goes the way we think it is, Prochazka's just going to knock him out, and that's just going to be that. And I get it. 28 wins, 25 knockouts. I get it, right? But you immediately jumped from doing his championship nature and all the promotions that he fought in to Volkan Ozdemir, to Dominic Reyes, now to the champion, brother. Not just the champion, but a chiseled veteran who's been around forever, right? At the UFC, at the highest level there is. Odds makers a little too confident here, brother. Do you see another outcome of this fight?
No, I see it the same way the odds makers do. That's what I was calling for as well as a KO. I mean, I can see your pause for concern, Derek. You make a very valid point, jumping in, right? Literally thrown to the sharks, thrown to the dogs out there. But he's been handling it pretty well. Second round KO. I'm going third round KO just because I'm giving Glover a little bit more bump, a little bit more bump for Glover, man. But I see the same way the odds makers do.
Okay, so let me ask you, the over and under is 1.5 rounds. Are you taking the over? Like, are you going late second round? Or you said third round, right? So third round. Okay, yeah.
But that's absolutely wild. They think this one's gonna over and under 1.5. Damn, bro. They're the odds makers not doing any love for Glover. Interesting. I can see it going longer than that. Glover's gonna last longer than that. But like I said, KO round 3. What about you? Who you going?
I'm gonna go submission round 3 in this one for Glover Teixeira, man. I think he's going to drag Jiri into those deep waters, Anthony Smith style, and I think that it's going to be long and slow and drawn out, but I do think he will be able to get the choke on Jiri Prochazka if he puts him in those very uncomfortable spots personally. I just think that Glover Teixeira is going to go classic style. He's going to get hit. He's going to get rocked. Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, Jiri won. And then he's going to create a scramble. And he's going to put Jiri on his back, and he knows how to survive. That's just what he does. But then again, this is all predicated on if the ref doesn't have a quick trigger finger and doesn't just jump in and be like, oh, automatically, nope, jump in. So it's a championship bout. I have faith that they wouldn't do that. But with that being said, that is your first championship bout. I'm rocking with the champion, Glover Teixeira, and still you're rocking with Anu. Last question. Just give me a very quick couple words on this one. If Jiri loses, is his stock still incredibly high after the fight?
Yes. I mean, I guess it depends on the fashion in which he loses. He gets, arm barred round 1. Probably not, but he lasts a little while, shows a little bit of dog in him. Yeah, I think his stock still stays real high.
All right, well, on Monday, we will definitely be back to talk about the outcome of that. But in the meantime, let's talk about this one, man. Valentina Shevchenko, she opened up as a minus 800 favorite. And folks that were watching earlier, you saw the odds have shrunk just a little bit, right? She's about like a minus 600 favorite now, but she's fighting number 4 ranked Taila Santos. And even though the UFC does an incredible job, AJ, incredible job of building up these fighters, hyping up these fights, getting people to want to watch and pay for tickets to watch these fights. I do truly think that Taila Santos is a good fighter, man. I've been hyping her up since the day she came into the UFC, but I also think this is a case of Shevchenko just ran through the division and you have nobody left, so you have to hype up whoever. We saw this in the last one at UFC 266 against Lauren Murphy. It's just like, was the hype deserved? No, she kind of got whooped on for 4 rounds and then the fight was over. So is this the same case here, AJ, with Taila Santos? Is this a placeholder? Is this just another name against Shevchenko? Because Shevchenko is the real draw here. Or is this the dark horse that has a real shot to beat the GOAT, Valentina Shevchenko?
Well, I mean, Taila Santos is a dark horse, and she does have some crazy power, really good striking, and everybody's beatable. So, I mean, there is pause for concern. Santos does have a shot to win this fight. I was actually kind of surprised that the odds were as good as they are for her. You know what I'm saying? I was expecting like a 2,000 or something, for Shevchenko, just because she's the bullet. She's that good. So is she a dark horse that can get it done? Yes. Do I think she has the best shot of getting it done? Not necessarily, man. I mean, I was listening to Uncle Chael talk about it the other day. Is Bullet unbeatable? Like, not necessarily. You just need to win one round, because Valentina's the better fighter.
Yeah.
But the better fighter in MMA doesn't always win. So if Taila Santos can win one round and then repeat that just 2 more times, kind of pull an Aljo Sterling versus Piotr Yan second fight, who knows? Maybe that can get the win. Maybe that can happen. I don't know. I'm with you. I don't really see it that way. It'd be a hard fight to win. And if she can win round 1, I see it strictly striking, throwing the hands, 1-2s down the pipe. Maybe mix a little bit of wrestling in there just to feint it. But Shevchenko's just so damn good at all of that as well. So it's really hard to say. How do you think Taila Santos wins any round if she can?
Well, I actually don't think it's going to be striking, man. I don't think striking is going to be the path to victory for Santos. I think it's going to have to be jiu-jitsu. It's going to have to be her wrestling. But that's the problem. Shevchenko's got really good wrestling and grappling herself. So that's the whole thing. Taila Santos says there's holes in Shevchenko's game and I'm going to exploit them. And Shevchenko's like, I think she's trying to just like hypnotize herself, because nobody's perfect. She's like, yeah, nobody's perfect. That's true. Or very few people are perfect. But at the end of the day, I'm the most well-rounded fighter. I am the better fighter. And I agree, because if you look at her performance against Jennifer Maia, remember, she lost the first round and everybody, they went crazy. Everyone was like, oh my God, Shevchenko's going to lose. She ended up winning, dominating the rest of the fight. And she can beat you where you're best at. So she pulls the John Jones sometimes. You remember John Jones versus Reyes. One of the excuses that was given on why it was such a close fight is he was like, I want to beat him at his style. I don't want to take the easiest path to victory. I want to beat him the way that, he fights. I think Shevchenko does that, man. She's like, oh, you grapple? Well, I'm going to out-grapple you. Oh, you strike? Oh, I'm going to out-strike you. But the real issue that I see in this problem, or the real issue I see in this matchup, AJ, is I think that Taila Santos is going to be a little outmatched speed-wise because everything is big with her. Everything is big exchange, big knees. The Muay Thai is fantastic, right? But Valentina Shevchenko, her Muay Thai is mixed in with like refined expertise, technician, like kickboxing as well, right? So everything is there. Feint, setting up everything. Go, duck under, do this. Taila Santos, man, she was even struggling when I was watching her fight against Molly McCann, man. Molly McCann was kind of giving her a little bit of issues. Obviously, she won the decision handily, but how she really won the fight was by when she wasn't having success on the feet, taking the fight to the ground. Now, my question to you is, can she do that? If Shevchenko starts picking her apart, does she even have the skill set to be able to shoot in on Shevchenko and really control her? Because the only person who has done that of late was one person, and it's Jennifer Maia, and she got one takedown. That's it. So what do you think?
Got one takedown. It's a big shot. I think the easiest way I can see it is if you catch one of Valentina's kicks, catch a kick, shoot in on the inside when you hit him with a leg sweep, or catch it with a big punch, and that's what knocks her down to the ground. There has to be something else than just a classic double leg blast or a single leg run the pipe. I think Valentina's just too damn good for that. She's going to see it coming. She's going to know. She's going to do the stuff she needs to do to get out of there. Valentina's just too damn versed. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's been seeing it for all too long, man. It's hard to surprise her with anything new. She's always thinking 3 steps ahead. Can Taila Santos get it done, get it to the ground? Maybe. I mean, the thing is, though, once Jennifer Maia did it that first time, then Valentina, everybody started putting her on blast. Like, oh, no, it can happen. It can happen. You know, she can fall. But then she came back and Valentina's like, really? Really, bitch? You think I can? Like, all right, I'll show you what's up. And then just went crazy on the ground game. So I think she's going to be so prepared everywhere in this fight. It's going to be a very, very big uphill battle for Taila Santos.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I have one other cause for concern in terms of Taila Santos. And I'm not hating, bro. I just think that Shevchenko is so many levels ahead that, but then again, man, you might wake up on the wrong side of the bed and have an off night. You never know. Anything can happen. But Taila Santos, given that she has that Muay Thai style, she's very front heavy and she doesn't check a lot of kicks. She has big leg kicks herself, but Shevchenko is very Joanna Jedrzejczyk-esque in terms of just constantly pop, 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 just landing those kicks. She'd throw them in combination too. So out of that southpaw stance, jab, cross, leg kick. And given that this is going to be orthodox versus southpaw, I mean, you also have that body kick to the liver there all day long for Shevchenko. So I think that she's going to work it, man, on multiple levels. Head, body, legs, working some takedowns, and ultimately dominate it for a decision victory because the respect that I will give to Taila Santos is that she's a tough outing, bro. She's never been finished in her career. 10 knockouts, 3 submissions, 6 decisions. Like, she knows how to capitalize on her opportunities. But like I said, all it takes is Shevchenko to control you, to demoralize you for a couple of rounds to get you out of your game, and you're in a bad spot. So I don't think Taila Santos right now, at this stage of her career, given that she's 28 years old, she's not in her prime yet, right? I don't think that she's ready to take on the champion and defeat the champion handedly right now. Now, this fight, if she loses this, which I predict that she will, might be the catalyst that propels her to being that person in a couple of years. But would you agree with me right now? I think that of all the names that Shevchenko has fought recently, the Andrades, Chukagins, Maias, Murphys, Carmouches, right? Santos just isn't that caliber yet. Like, she's just a little too young in the game. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel me, or do you think I'm tripping here?
No, I feel you. Because I've been liking Santos. We've been liking Santos for years now. Then since she started, you know, we've been thinking she's going to be the girl. She's going to be the one coming up. It's just a little too soon. I wish that the women's division had a little bit more depth, so that we could, you know, build up a Taila Santos, build her up all the way to where maybe a year or two down the road we're seeing the bullet matchup. But, you know, not the case, and it's just fight her when you got to fight her.
And I'm just saying, just look at the resume, man. The wins that propelled her to a championship. You beat Molly McCann, Jillian Robertson, Roxanne Modafferi, and Joanne Wood. That's what gets you to the title? I'm not hating. I'm just saying that's not the progression that's normally. That's not even like the top 5 of the division, you know. So that's just why I'm saying that. I think Taila Santos is such a skilled fighter, but that's gonna be. I think that's gonna be the catalyst. So we'll talk about this on Monday. See if my prediction is right. I think the speed is gonna give Santos a lot of problems, and the feints and the setups of Shevchenko is just going to kind of, you know, not allow Santos to sit down on her shots the way that she's accustomed to. But let's talk props, brother. For the bullet, which I think the most common sense method of victory is a decision. decision for the Bullet, right? Even though she has 3 TKO victories in her last 5, and people will probably be very disappointed if she can't finish Santos. I respect Santos, and I think a decision gets the job done. However, we saw Jiri was minus 155 for a TKO. Valentina's plus 105 for a decision, so she's not even minus money for a decision. So I think you jump on that. Like, you jump all over that one, right? Because this is a women's flyweight bout at the same time. Both of them have power, but if you're smart, you're not going to fall into the traps that's going to get you knocked out. But for Taila Santos, a TKO, brother, this is the thing that struck me even crazier. I want to know which one you jump on more. The plus 105 decision for Shevchenko, or plus 850 TKO prop for Santos, bro. That's like her one method of victory, I feel like. That or a choke. And the choke is even crazier. It's plus 1400. So which one do you like better?
I mean, I have to jump all over that Valentina decision.
Of course.
But at that same point, if you got like $10 to throw down, that $10 for a TKO on Taila Santos for a plus 800 comeback, hell yeah, all day long. That's a great prop right there, because it can happen. And I feel like that if there's going to be a way, it's going to be crazy in the exchange. Taila Santos lands some big power. Valentina doesn't see it coming. TKO. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. But if there ever is going to be a way, I feel like that's what's going to happen.
I really feel like you could take the minus 600 currently. This was minus 800 at open, right? You could take the minus 600 and you can run with that and be like, however Shevchenko gets it done, that's fair play either way. I think this is a pretty safe bet. But that plus 105, brother, I honestly, you got to jump all over it. We'll just leave it at that. Jump all over it, folks. Plus 105 for Valentina Shevchenko. That is our consensus lock here at the Bloody Water Podcast. So leave that for what it is worth. We'll see what happens, but we're going with the Bullet. All right, AJ, man, this is a time where, honestly, how spoiled are we that this is the third fight down from the main event, man? Zhang Weili versus Joanna champion, Joanna warrior, non-ranked, Joanna Jedrzejczyk, brother. I mean, listen, that is a disgrace to see. But then again, she jumped straight in, brother. And the big caveat to this matchup right here is that they said Marina Rodriguez, we're not worried about her. If the winner of this fight gets to fight Carla Esparza for the championship. So for Joanna Jedrzejczyk, bro, she's licking her chops saying, all I have to do is beat Zhang Weili, and then I already beat up Carla Esparza to take her title all those years ago. Oh, I'll just do it again, right? And then you got Weili, who at this point, I think is in the midst of an evolution as a fighter, AJ. She's at fight ready. She's learning from Triple C, Henry Cejudo. She's trying to come back from her, skid that she's been on, brother. Honestly, if you look at the last 2 fights, they've both been against Rose Namajunas. She got knocked out in one, lost a split decision in the other. And then Joanna Jedrzejczyk, man, she lost the split decision to Weili in the last one. So this is all a big circle of fate right here. But at the end of the day, who has more to lose? AJ, Zhang Weili risking going on a 3-fight losing skid, or Joanna Jedrzejczyk, who, when's the last time you see her on a 2-fight losing skid, man? You don't even see that. So who has more to lose here?
I think it has to be Joanna Warrior, man, just because of the hype, man. She's such a media presence. She's the face. She's has the tenacity, she has all the charisma and everything. She's getting all the media, so there's all this stuff on her that if she loses this fight, it's one of those ones where it's like, is she still the real deal? She used to be the scariest, she used to be the boogie woman. She used to be everyone that was scared of her, and now not necessarily. Now she's kind of like the one. She's she's that old school bully who once he gets beat up one time, now he's just part of the crew and just kind of kicking it. Like, no one's really scared of him anymore. He got handled a couple times. You know what I'm talking about. It's a classic archetype, and I feel like that's how Joanna, if she loses this one, that's the idea that's going to kind of get represented into her. You know what I'm saying? She used to be the big power girl. She used to hit you hard, hit you fast. Everyone was scared of her. Now Weili's kind of going into that thing, man. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think that definitely Joanna has a lot at stake here, but I think Zhang Weili actually has more to lose, if that makes sense. And hear me out. This is my thought process on the situation, and this is why this is kind of lending to who I'm picking. So Zhang Weili, man, you lose to Rose Namajunas, and I've never seen a bigger switch, a bigger style change up than I have since her losing that first fight to Rose, right? You get knocked out, flash TKO'd with the head kick, dropped. You came all this way, you lost your belt, you're devastated. You come back in the fight, and we saw a different Zhang Weili. We didn't see the same fighter, right? And this is kind of why she lost the fight, in my opinion. If she would have been that aggressive fighter who fought Joanna Jedrzejczyk, I think she could have won the fight. but we didn't see that fighter. Now she talks in the pre-fight meetings, cuts the hair, regrows it, has a whole persona shift and all that. It's trying to be, you know, more uplifted, happy and all that. Now she's saying, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to mix in some wrestling. Henry Cejudo has taught me so much. If I don't use this, it's going to go to a waste. So all this is telling me, AJ, is something that you've said recently, we've talked about other fighters, where when you have coaches who are trying to change your fighter instead of really honing down on what got them here in the first place. Being that multi-level, mix in the wrestling, mix in all of the different fundamentals and be this kind of basic fighter, if that makes sense, right? Well-rounded at everything versus honing on your strength in Weili. That's not what won her the championship, bro. So if you turn into that fighter now, who's to say you're going to have that success? Joanna Jedrzejczyk, bro, you know that she thought that she won the fight against Weili. You can argue that she won the fight. At the end of the day, we'll give it to Weili, man. That hematoma definitely played a huge factor in terms of the visuals of the fight. But either way, it was a great fight. So you have basically a Joanna Jedrzejczyk, who both of these fighters are suffering from the Rose Namajunas, losses. But aside from that, they're basically beating everybody else, man. The only other loss Joanna had recently was to Valentina Shevchenko, so that's fair. We'll leave that for what it's worth. Does Zhang Weili win this fight if she doesn't fight this fight the same way she fought the first fight? And I know that was a mouthful right there, but if you notice the reckless abandon she had in the first fight, if she doesn't come out with that, can she win this fight?
I don't think so, man. And I saw the same thing where she was talking about her going to wrestling, and if she doesn't use it, it's all for a waste. I hate that. It's as a coach who has, athletes that I coach myself, man. Anytime they say, "Oh, I'm switching it up," I'm like, why? Why? You're good at this. Why are you doing that? Like, what's the point? Why are you gonna do just to do it? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, just win the fight. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So I hope she comes out there with that, tenacity, with that forward front, because in that first fight, I thought she won. It was a very close fight against JJ, excuse me. But I mean, with the power that she has, with the style that she is, she's always on that front foot. She's a powerful girl in Weili Zhang, man. So hopefully it doesn't switch it up too much. I mean, and I say this all under the pretext that if she does switch it up, it doesn't work. If she does switch it up and the wrestling does work, she gets JJ to the ground and pound victory, round one. I mean, how shocked would all of us be if that was the case? Weili Zhang walks in, hits an incredible blast double, and that's the last we know of JJ, Joanna Warrior out there. We'd be shocked. I'd be mind blown if that was the case. I just don't think, as progressed as you are as a fighter in your career at this point that Weili Zhang is, you can't just switch it up, go to something else, go to a new style, want to be Triple C, as cool as that would be. And that'd be nice if we could just change who, our body and anatomy and like have physiology and how our body works and what's easiest and best for us. That'd be cool. But I just, it worries me a little bit. It does worry me a little bit. But I think once the hands start flying, JJ's back in the ring, they're facing each other. I think Weili Zhang's going to think about that first fight and kind of go back to her ways. Hopefully, I'm hoping so. Anyway.
Well, even if we're looking at it from the opposite perspective, Joanna Jedrzejczyk, she said, "I know why I lost the first fight, and the reason why is because she went in and she went to war with Weili, and she didn't need to do that. You don't need to step in the pocket and be there all day long. She's most effective when she's out at range, hitting Weili with shots where she can't get hit back. She is the bigger, longer fighter, honestly, right? So I think that the real question here is that if Weili can effectively use that wrestling, let's take a look at some stats real fast, brother. If Weili can effectively use her wrestling, the last people to really be successful after notching a takedown against Joanna Jedrzejczyk, honestly, Valentina Shevchenko with 5, right? She just kind of ragdolled her in that fight, if you remember that one. Rose Namajunas, she got the sneaky takedown at the end to kind of solidify the win against Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Jessica Andrade lost the fight even though she had 2 takedowns. Claudia Gadelha lost the fight even though she had 4 takedowns. Valerie, she had 1 takedown, ended up losing the fight. Like all of these fighters, Claudia Gadelha again, 7 takedowns, lost the fight. So one thing that has been notable about Joanna Jedrzejczyk kind of throughout her career is that her takedown defense has been really good. She always finds a way to get back up to her feet. Even against Weili. Weili tried to shoot a couple takedowns in the first fight. And Joanna, what does she do? Every time she'll take the takedown, get back onto her feet, look at Weili, smile, laugh at her, be like, "Oh yeah, you thought. All right, let's get back to it." You know what I mean? So that's one of the biggest strengths of a Joanna Jedrzejczyk. But listen, man, we could talk about this all day long. I just think that if Weili doesn't come out with the same tenacity that she did in the first fight, the same aggressiveness, the same reckless abandon to sit in the pocket, trade, and not scramble out or go try to shoot for the takedown, if she doesn't do that, Joanna might have a field day here. But it could be another close fight. Who's to say? The biggest X factor is Joanna hasn't performed in 2 years, man. She says she's been training, but we never know. Ring rust, I mean, it is real. Dominic Cruz doesn't think so, but ring rust is definitely real. At the end of the day, man, the winner of this fight, if Joanna does win, this does set up a rubber match, man. This does set up a third fight potentially down the road. So it's not like the trilogy may be over or this series may be over. But let's talk props here. So for Zhang Weili, man, a TKO prop plus 400, a decision prop, plus 140. All right, so those are fair odds. For Joanna, plus 700 for the TKO, plus 175 for the decision. They're both comparable odds between the fighters. However, Zhang Weili has the better prop in terms of getting the KO. But when we're talking decisions here, what do you like better? Do you like Weili at minus 180 just to take it, cut and dry, whatever, or do you take the plus 140 decision prop? This is a 3-round fight after all.
Yeah, it's a 3-round fight. That's, man, I think it has to be decision just because of that 3-round shortness. I don't think either of the girls can get each other out that fast, but I think the grit and tenacity of both fighters is going to make it very, very challenging. So I like that plus money on that decision.
Okay, and the over and under here is 2.5 rounds, so we'll rock with the over for you on the prop for decision for Weili, and I actually like the decision the other way. I think Joanna gets the decision on this one, man. I think that the one difference that people are missing in this matchup is that Joanna Jędrzejczyk is not just some fighter who had a break and is coming back. She was literally the boogie woman. Stylistically, yeah, you ran into a bad matchup with Rose Namajunas. You got ragdoll when you try to go up a weight class against Shevchenko. That's fine, but in the weight class, man, if you look at Joanna Jędrzejczyk in her weight class, and you look at her losses, it's literally 2 losses to Rose, 1 to Shevchenko. There's no other losses. Nobody else has beaten her. So she still is the boogie woman of the 115-pound division. I just think that if she fights a little more tactically, doesn't sit in the pocket and get beat up, you're going to have a bet. If you don't get a huge hematoma, you might just win the fight. I'll just say that, man. So decision for Joanna for me, decision for Weili for AJ, man. And this is honestly, is this the people's main event?
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised this is at least third on the bout because this is going to be one of those, was Brian Ortega, where it basically took the whole steam out of the room and there's no excitement for the next fight forward. I think this one could be it.
Something like that, man. So we'll move on to the next one. And this one, listen, this is going to be a fun matchup. Rogerio Bontorin versus Manel Kape. And Manel Kape, like I said earlier, he's been in great form as of late, man. When we're talking about the huge knockout win over Zhalga Zhumagulov or the knockout win over Ode Osborne, which has aged incredibly well since then, he is doing a lot better than his first couple skids with a loss against Pantoja and a loss against Nicolau. Because we're like, what the hell happened to this dude? He was supposed to be the next champion, and now he's fallen off. But now it was just a little slow start. However, for Bontorin, man, you get a split decision loss against Royval, a no contest for Matt Schnell. And I'm trying to remember what exactly happened there. Do you have it off the top of your head why that got ruled a no contest?
No. I had it. I thought he won a unanimous decision against Matt Schnell. I didn't know they changed it.
Yeah, man. So we'll look into that as I'm talking a little bit more. But then you lose to Kai Kara France, that first round TKO, which a lot of people thought to a degree was a little iffy. But either way. You have the win over Holly and Paiva. That was a first-round doctor stoppage, which was fair, man. That was a good fight back and forth. It was a really nasty cut that ended up stopping the fight, but it goes to show Bontorin has power. His last fight against Royval showed that he has the takedown chops and he can hold you down. Some people thought Bontorin won the fight, bro. It was a split decision after all, but either way, Manel Kape says, Bontorin, I am the well-rounded fighter. You're crazy if you think that you're going to be able to beat me in any aspect. I'm a better striker. I'm a better fighter on the ground, better jiu-jitsu, better wrestling. But Bontorin, I do think, has a big power advantage, not just power in the hands, but strength overall as a human being. But then again, AJ, Manel Kape is under the tutelage of Daniel Cormier, right? So, and Khabib Nurmagomedov. So what is power? What is strength? What does that even mean? How does Bontorin win this fight if he were to win this fight? Manel Kape is so damn good. His footwork is incredible. If you shoot in at the wrong time, you're going to catch a knee to your jaw. I mean, his striking is phenomenal. His jiu-jitsu is great. Getting back up to his feet, easy. I mean, how does Bontorin win the fight?
Man, Bontorin, this is a very uphill battle for Bontorin. I think if he does, it's going to have to be off one of those counter strikes he has, because he does have serious power and he has heavy top pressure, which I like for him. But against Manel Kape, not the best route for victory on this one, man. So I think if he's going to be doing it, he's going to have to get Manel Kape coming forward, looking for that counter strike, slip off to the side, hit Manel with something that he doesn't really see. Because Bontorin is a great counter striker. He just does it. In his last fight against Brandon Royval, he wasn't able to use it. because Brandon Royval was slick and had a little bit too much range on him, so he needed to get on the inside. Now, since they're both about the same size, if I'm not mistaken, they're both 5'5", I think Bontorin has a little bit better shot to hit one of those counter strikes. Maybe throw something to the body, come back up to the top, let Manel kind of feel that, come back in, dip to the side, rip one. I don't know, man. But I think at the counter striking, that's going to be the best shot for Bontorin going forward. Because, I mean, other than that, Manel Kape has you outbeat on every single thing, man. Grappling, wrestling, striking. This dude, and he's slick. He can issue, like you said, with the knee at any point. Manel Kape is a very dangerous man. I see it as the counter-striking for Bontorin. What about you, Derick?
Well, I think that Bontorin is going to have to mix in some of that grappling too, man. Because if he can just lock in that top control, if he could really just sit there and control Manel Kape for a little bit, you're going to take a little bit less pressure off yourself in terms of needing to be very successful and outpace Manel Kape on the feet. Because I think Kape, if he's that aggressive Kape that we've been seeing, which has been propelling him to victory recently, it's going to be too much, man. The volume is going to be there. The counter-striking is going to be precise. The precision is going to be there. But you got to mix in the takedowns. But who's to say? I mean, Bontorin has 11 career submissions under his belt. Who's to say he can't submit Manel Kape, who he has been submitted twice in his career, so it's definitely an option. But just so we're clear on this end, AJ, it looks like Rogerio Bontorin, that no contest versus Matt Schnell. I don't know. This is actually the article for it, excuse me. So Bontorin gets reduced suspension for a tainted supplement, and then he returned versus Royval after that one. So basically, there was some, USADA nonsense, tainted picograms and all that craziness, man, that definitely played a part in why that fight ended up being a no contest, which a fight that he won against Matt Schnell, but, neither here nor there. I mean, are you reading into that at all and going into this fight? I mean, what's done is done. The man served his time, right? So what do you think?
I mean, tainted supplement or not, man served his time. It's a hard one to get back, especially because he already fought Royval after that. Yeah. So I don't read too much into it. Although at the same point, man, Bontorin does look juicy. So it is he for 5'5", homeboy's thick. So thick, I mean, I can see a little cause for concern, but I don't read too much into it.
Yeah, 125, the man is thick. So let's talk about props, man. For a Rogerio Bontorin to win via submission is plus 450 prop right there, man. So I mean, it's on the table, right? For a decision, plus 500. Now for Manel Kape to win via decision, plus 235, and via TKO, we're looking at plus 125. So I like Manel Kape in this fight, man. I really like Manel Kape. I think he can land that TKO shot on Bontorin and really hurt him. But then if you really want to give respect to Bontorin, the man has only been finished via KO or TKO once, and that was the Kai Kara-France fight where, was he really knocked out? Like, was he really knocked out? Not really. So what do you like better? Do you like a KO prop for Kape, or do you like the decision prop for Kape?
Well, I was kind of surprised to see the KO as plus money, but I like the decision. I like the decision a lot more. Well, I don't know, because I actually just looked at my note right now. I scrolled down. I have Kape KO round 2, so that's what I was thinking originally. But now I was thinking a little bit more decision based. But I'm going to trust my gut on this one, Derick. Okay. I'm going to go Kape KO round 2. I like that plus. What'd you say? 180 comeback.
We're plus 125 for the TKO for Manel Kape. So the over and under here is 2.5 rounds. So is it fair to say you're taking the under?
I'm taking the under. KO round 2.
Okay. All right, we'll take that one. And I think I'm going to play it safe here with a Manel Kape decision victory here. I think Bontorin is going to make this harder than we definitely anticipate here. I don't think he's going to fall victim to the knockout, but then you never know. Manel Kape can just hit him with that one good shot, and we can call it quits there. But I'm going to rock with the over on here, rock with the decision from Manel Kape, because at the end of the day, the over prop right here is plus 110 for the 2.5 rounds. So the under is minus 140. Odds makers probably think it's going to be a little more drawn out. And we've also seen Kape sometimes has a slow start. He's got volume issues sometimes, man. And Bontorin, he's not a high volume puncher himself. So we'll see what happens. But looks like we're both rocking with Manel Kape on this one. And the last bout on the main card here, AJ, Jack Della Maddalena versus Ramazan Emeev. Emeev, once again, he was 5-0 in fights that he landed a takedown coming into the UFC prior to his last fight against Danny Roberts, who somehow, some way put on a jiu-jitsu display of his life to be able to win the fight, man. Split decision. It was kind of crazy. And this was one where I picked Emeev, and I was shocked when Danny Roberts won the fight. Not because I didn't think he won the fight, because I was so high on Emeev. But then we have a dude here in Jack Della Maddalena who is an absolute gamer, right? I believe Cage Warriors champion, 11-2 in his MMA career. And those 2 losses, believe it or not, those were the first 2 losses, first 2 fights of his career. He lost both of them. He's gone on an 11-fight win streak since then. 9 knockouts, 1 submission, 1 decision. And listen, bro, Jack Della Maddalena has a lot of hype on him, and I think that explains why his odds have swelled to where they are right now. This fight opened up as a pick'em, -110, -110, which I think is where the money should be. However, it is now -160 plus 135 for Emeev. Now, AJ, I can see clearly, very clearly here, how Ramazan Emeev, how even though he's the underdog, he can win this fight handedly, easily. I think that there is a very clear path to victory for Ramazan Emeev. But I'm also a little hesitant because if you've noticed, man, he's not like the Movsar Evloev, who can mix it up with the striking, and shoot that blast double to get the control. Emeev's go-to, if you notice, is that single leg. Constantly single leg. He'll get it, and then he'll get back on the feet, and he'll go back for the single leg. Or he'll be boxing you up, single leg. Always a single leg there, right? Now, for a Jack Della Maddalena, who is so crispy, such a technician on the feet, man, power incredible, can fight out of both stances very effectively. Do you think this is one of those fighters, or one of those fights where his offense gets frozen because Emeev can walk forward? Or do you think Emeev's not that type of grappler that's going to freeze him the same way a Movsar Evloev freezes his opponents?
No, I think Emeev's gonna freeze him. I think this is the big thing, the first real big fight for Maddalena in the UFC. His last one was a late fight replacement, so it was a hard one against that Pete Rodriguez where he got that counter strike. Yeah. Nothing against Rodriguez, but he was just outmatched in the Maddalena fight. Now Maddalena's fighting dudes, same height, same build, both big dudes in the 170-pound division, and Emeev has great wrestling. I think Emeev's gonna stuff him a couple times. Maybe Maddalena does stuff to take down a couple times, but because I feel like Maddalena has obviously the better hands in this one. Oh, yeah. But if Emeev can get into the ground, keep repeating, rinse, washing. I mean, how many takedowns does it take for you to start kind of feeling demoralized, not knowing what to do? Your back keeps hitting the ground. Even if you do get up, then you're back down again. I think Emeev has a gas tank to fight that kind of fight, though.
Yeah, no, you're right. And this is the thing is like, I think that Ramazan Emeev is a live dog here, very live dog. I think it's the name presence that's what's giving Maddalena some of the credibility in terms of the odds makers. But at the same time, if you just look at how great he is, how much of a technician he is on the feet, I'm not talking about the UFC. Just go look back at his previous fights, man. If you look at Jack Della Maddalena, let's take a look real fast. So for those who are watching with us, I will pull it up and let's take a look at Jack Della Maddalena. All right. So it clearly... Let's go back to 2016. He hasn't lost since 2016, so that's pretty impressive. And I know you can't see it, folks, so I'll read it out for you. We have a first-round TKO, or first-round KO, another first-round KO, second-round KO, second-round submission, second-round KO, first-round KO, second-round KO, second-round KO, first-round KO, decision in the Dana White Contender Series, and then a first-round KO. So clearly this dude starches everybody, AJ. I mean, it's not a surprise that Jack Della Maddalena is like stiffing dudes one shot, they're falling down. In his fight against, what was his name? Alden Bates, man. This was a beautiful, just right hand down the pipe, boom, slept him. He hopped on the ring and he told everyone, hey, pipe down. Shh, he sleep. Like, let the man nap. You know what I'm saying? He's got a confidence to him. And I think that that's going to be the big difference because Danny Roberts, let's figure it out right now together, AJ. Why did Danny Roberts win the fight against Ramazan Emeev? I would say it's because Emeev struggles against the jiu-jitsu guys, who's constantly throwing up triangles, constantly throwing up things once you get to the takedown, make you think. But I also think it's because Danny Roberts was able to fight fire with fire against Emeev, stand there, trade in the pocket, stuff the singles, because they're not crazy doubles, they're just singles. You still can push the head to the side, get out of there, and then go back on the offensive. I think if Jack Della Maddalena kind of replicates that game plan, he's going to have a lot of success against Emeev. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Because the whole reason I saw why Emeev was losing the fight against Danny Roberts is he was running the whole time. Not running the whole time, excuse me. Anytime they were on their feet, obviously Danny Roberts had the best of him. Both of them bloodied up a little bit, and then I can see where you're saying about the busyness on the ground. It makes sense. I don't know if that's a strategy you want to bank on all the time with the judges, but it ended up working out for Danny Roberts in his last one. I don't know if you always want to do that, but it is what it is. I think if Jack Della Maddalena does the same thing, he bloodies up Emeev. He kind of gets him worried about the striking so much, throws a couple uppercuts. Then Emeev really starts to worry, like, oh, should I be shooting in for this single? If he gets something, if I do get a hand on him, then he starts hitting me with some elbows. That's where the concern starts to really happen. It's going to be a hard one, though, I think, man. Emeev, he's ready.
No, I think Emeev's ready too, but you also look back at the Anthony Rocco Martin fight. And Rocco Martin, he had a very similar game plan right there, man. Stuff the takedowns, be offensive, hit him with the big power, and Emeev kind of crumbles from time to time when you have those type of fighters. If you look at the wins, it's Sekulic, Nicholas Stolze, David Zawada. And I'm not saying those aren't high-level wins. I'm just saying that if you look at the type of fighter they are, those aren't the big, real, like, big power and technician on the feet. Those are more just technical strikers who got some grappling on them. So, let's be honest here, brother. When we're talking about the props, I think the most fair prop, and even though I'm picking Jack Della Maddalena, the most fair prop is a Ramazan Emeev at plus 180 for a decision, which I think is kind of crazy if you really think about it. Plus 180 for a decision, bro. I mean, I think you jump all over that, right?
Oh, all over it. Yeah, that's all day. That's it's what I'm going with, man.
But then for Jack Della Maddalena, plus 250 for the TKO prop. So, I mean, what's more fair? Minus 160 for Maddalena just on the money line, or a plus 250 for the TKO?
Ooh, for Maddalena, I mean, as much as I want to risk it on that TKO, I feel like that's some good money right there. Save shots that or the minus 160, but man, that he does have a chance to get that TKO, especially you catch Emeev shooting in on a random one.
Yeah. You know what, man? I'm going to do something risky here, and I'm going to rock with that TKO prop for Jack Della Maddalena. I think that, bro, the power in his hands is something incredible. The way he's able to, like, literally sit down on these shots against these dudes, man, whether it's a ground and pound scenario, whether it's just a straight flush right hand that rocks him. I mean, Emeev does get rocked from time to time. You watch his fight, he's stumbling around, but what saves him? Jump on the single, right? So I think Maddalena is going to have to be ready. He's going to have to be game, but he's a high-level prospect for a reason, bro. So I'm going to rock here. It's a 2.5 is the round, so 2.5 rounds. I'm going to rock a little bit underneath that, man, and I'm going to go early second round TKO for Jack Della Maddalena right there, bro. So it's going to be interesting, man, but I'm not going to lie to you. I have a lot of hesitancies, and this is one of those picks. I picked this not only because I believe in Jack Della Maddalena, but because you picked Emeev. So I was like, well, if this is the spot where I can get a little bit of a upper hand, this is where it's going to need to be. This is where the gamesmanship comes in. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a high-stakes matchup right here, and I think that the winner of this fight gets a bigger name in their next fight. Even though, I mean, Emeev getting Jack Della Maddalena, that's a pretty name in and of itself right there. So all right, so that is your main card, brother. And I mean, I'm excited for these fights come this weekend, bro. Like, you have the title fights, you have all that good stuff, but you also got some good prelims. And I think that we should cover just a couple of those real fast. And how we're going to do that today is I'm literally just going to show over the ESPN, and we'll just take a look at these fights real fast, man. So look at this. Brendan Allen versus Jacob Malkoun, man. This is going to be a battle of who can hug each other longest, I think, right? So in this fight, I think Brendan Allen has a little more spunk on the feet than a Jacob Malkoun does. But Malkoun, he's a gamer, bro, and I think that plus 240 underdog odds on him can be exploited. What do you think about this matchup?
Ooh, I like Brendan Allen a lot more in this matchup, but Malkoun, man, he does have some nice striking, some underrated striking for the kickboxer. Yeah, I still like Brendan Allen a lot, man, so I'm going Brendan Allen on this one, but Malkoun, it's not a bad plus, or would you say plus 240? I can't read that far.
Yeah, plus 240, brother.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, I like Brendan Allen here too, man, but I just hope that this is one of those trap games. Another one of those where he's supposed to win and then you end up getting surprised by Malkoun, who only lost one fight in his MMA career thus far. Andre Fialho versus Jake Matthews. This dude Fialho is busy, bro. He's a minus 145 favorite with a plus 120 comeback for Jake Matthews, man. I think that this is going to be a fun fight, given that Matthews is a little bit older, but Matthews is also a very chiseled veteran, and if he can get this fight to the ground and keep it there, I think it's going to be trouble for Andre Fialho. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I like Fialho in this one, but Matthews, as the chiseled vet, can always get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyung Kang versus Danaa Bakary, bro. I mean, this is fun fight written all over it. This is going to be a banger. This could be a fight of the night right here, just back and forth. You're going to have your scrambles. You're going to be on the feet. You're going to be on the ground. Someone might get knocked out. If someone does get knocked out, I think Bakary is going to be knocking out Kang personally. If there's a submission, I think Kang submits Bakary. That's kind of my thought process on the fight. But either way, Kang is the bigger, longer fighter, more experienced. I mean, what do you think of the matchup?
I almost made this one my sleeper, Derick,
bro,
because this one's going to be an absolute heat coming from both fighters, man. Going to be a very fun fight. I don't know who wins. I'm kind of on the side of Kang. I also like Bakary a lot, so I don't know, man. I don't know.
It should be a fun one, man. Also, folks, you can barely see it at the bottom. We have Ramona Pascual versus Jocelyn Edwards. Pascual, she dropped her UFC debut. I believe it was a short notice bout as well. But now she actually gets a full training camp, but she has a tough task on her hands in Jocelyn Edwards, man, who's a real power puncher, real pop in her shots, great jiu-jitsu. I mean, listen, man, Edwards is rightfully so the minus 160 favorite right here, but Pascual, she has some good pop on her shots. She's relentless. She could take a good shot. She has a good chin. But do you think Edwards might just be a little too much for her in this one?
I think Edwards might be. She might, if I'm correct, she has the size for her. But Pascual has serious power and good wrestling, man, and she can kick really, really hard. So yeah. I think Jocelyn Edwards does outwin her in the technical battle, but Pascual has some serious power, man.
Yeah. Edwards bigger, longer, probably more powerful. I don't know. It should be a fun one though, right? And then lastly, we got Ling Nia versus Silvana Gomez Juarez, right? And I think both of these fighters are coming off of a loss, if I'm not mistaken. I can double check that real fast for this one right here. And she lost to Carnelosi. I remember that fight. And then we have Silvana Gomez Juarez, who lost to Vanessa Demopoulos. That's after Demopoulos jumped in Joe Rogan's arms after she won the fight. How embarrassing. But now both of these fighters have an opportunity to get back on the board. Gomez Juarez, I think she needs this win a little bit more than Ling Nia needs this win. But at the end of the day, this is one that I think folks should just keep your eye on, because these are two developing prospects in the women's strawweight division. So just keep your eye on that one. Other than that, I mean, look at this card, bro. Let me ask you, this is the final question that I have, actually, before we get on out of here, AJ. Do you think that this card, I think we said it on the last pay-per-view, like this one might be worth throwing some money on. Do you think this one right here is legitimately worth $75 for, just for the main card, bro? You have Glover, Jiri, you have Shevchenko, Santos, Weili, JJ number 2, Kape, Bontorin, Madalena, Emeev. I mean, those are some banger fights. Is this worth $75 to shell out?
I think so. I mean, you basically have 3 title fights. Sure, the third one isn't, 5 rounds. It isn't actually for the title, JJ versus Weili Zhang. But in the scope of everything, they could be fighting for a title shot. And the fact that it's a 3-rounders makes it even more exciting. I think this one's worth $75. What about you?
Well, given that Carla Esparza is the champion and Rose Namajunas has suffered that loss, right, and both of these fighters have lost to them, this is kind of establishing who's like the number 3 fighter in the division. You know what I mean? Because Carla, she has to be bona fide number 1. Rose, number 2. And then number 3, it's either Weili or it's going to be JJ. So we're going to find out here, man. So the fact that Weili's former champion, JJ's former champion, Carla's former champion, current champion, and Rose, former champion, I mean, that's kind of crazy that the title is just changing hands between those 4 over the past, 10 years, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I think this is going to be an interesting card. I think this is going to be worth the money, but I would still recommend going to your local sports bar and go and check it out and all that fun stuff, man. But here we are, brother, at the outro, my man. And at this point in the day, all I can say is drop a like, folks, subscribe. We appreciate you. We're hyped up for this fight. We're hyped up for all of these fights here, but what's most important, and I know we don't spend as much time as we do on the main card because that's not the whole entire structure of this show, but the prelims are so important. I'm talking about start to finish. These people you see on the main card today, guess where they started their career? On the prelim. So you guys heard the spiel. You know what time it is. BloodyWaterPodcast.com is the home, the hub, where you can find just about everything. But what's most important is that you listen on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, all that fun stuff. But really, like I said, share the show with your friends. You know what time it is, man. Let's get to 380 subscribers by the end of the week. AJ, you got any last words for the people?
Woo, I think you said it best, Derek. Make sure you share with your friends wherever it is you're watching, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Just make sure you hit that like button, share it with your friends. It helps us out so much. And we're going to be back here on Sunday doing it again, I guess on Monday for y'all folks. But we're going to be back again doing the post show. Tune in. We're working hard over here. So do us a big favor and just share it with your friends. It means the world to both of us here at the Bloody Water Podcast.
Absolutely. And brother, let me just leave off with one last note. And this is something that I basically keep track of, right? We keep track of it, and I'll give a little transparency here. This is the scores overall for the year. So if you look at the total year, and obviously you can't see who is who, but if you look at the top, right, you got 67-35 in my 68-34 is AJ. I'm at 65%, AJ is at 66%. If you look at the total numbers, brother, I mean, at this point, we're a little over 100 total bouts, right? So out of 100 bouts, and this is what's the most impressive thing, out of just about 100 bouts, I've got 67 of them right, you have 68 of them right. That's pretty damn good, bro. I know if this was a test, right, that's a D on a test, but if we're talking 50-50 shot, picking fights, picking who is going to knock this person out, who's going to win, that's pretty damn impressive. I feel like, am I right, AJ? I mean, come on. If you look at all of the big-time names out there that are the journalists and all that, they don't have these records, right?
That's exactly what I was about to say, Derick. Sure, if this is a test, it might not be, it's a D level, it's all good. But if you look at the comparison, if this is off of a curve, if my schooling remembers correct, we're the A students out here, brother. There's a lot of other ones that are on ESPN, on all these other big platforms, have their own shows as well, and they're rocking a 30% and proud of it. You know who's big dog over here in the Bloody Water podcast, man. We have the best show in the entire universe, man. Right. So come on, rock with us with these picks. We make you some money. And for my friends out there listening, I know that I made you some money, so make sure you share it with your friends. You're always hollering at me asking for the picks. Make sure you share it with the rest of the homies so they can spread some money around as well.
Exactly, man. Let's make everybody rich. Let's do it, man. But all right, folks, that's it for us. You will catch us on Monday for the post show. Until next time, folks. Peace.